It always starts the same way. A strange smell, a forgotten key, a locked compartment no one can explain. If you've ever dreamed of buying an old RV, restoring it, and hitting the open road, this story might make you think twice. Because sometimes the things left behind aren't just old tools or faded photographs. Sometimes they're secrets. Secrets buried so deeply that the people who hid them believed no one would ever find them. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe and join us for more true mysteries, unforgettable stories, and strange discoveries from the road. Now settle in, because this is one journey you won't forget. The RV looked ordinary from the outside. It was a faded 1994 Class C motorhome sitting quietly behind an abandoned farmhouse in rural Montana. Moss covered the roof. One tire had completely sunk into the dirt, and the windows were coated with years of dust. To most people, it looked like junk, but to a man named Daniel, it looked like opportunity. Daniel loved restoring old RVs. He had spent years bringing forgotten campers back to life, selling some and keeping others for family adventures. When he found this neglected motorhome listed at a county auction, he paid less than $2,000 for it. The previous owner had passed away with no known relatives, and everything on the property was sold as part of the estate. The first day of restoration went exactly as expected. Rotten cabinets came out. Rusted plumbing was replaced. The engine surprisingly started after a new battery and fresh fuel. It seemed like another routine project. Then Daniel noticed something strange. The measurements inside the bedroom didn't match the exterior dimensions of the RV. He had renovated enough campers to know every inch mattered. Yet one wall seemed unusually thick. Nearly 12 inches of empty space existed where there should have been only 4. Curious, he tapped along the wall. Most of it sounded hollow. One section didn't. Instead, it produced a solid, heavy thud. At first, he assumed it was extra framing or insulation added by a previous owner. But when he removed the decorative paneling, he discovered fresh plywood hidden behind decades-old wallpaper. The wood wasn't original. Someone had carefully installed it later and covered every sign of modification. Using a pry bar, Daniel slowly removed the panel. Behind it was a narrow metal door with no handle, only a small keyhole. The mystery had officially begun. He searched the RV for hours looking for a key. Nothing. Eventually, he drilled out the old lock. The metal compartment swung open with a loud creak. Inside wasn't treasure. It wasn't money. It wasn't jewelry. It was something far more unsettling. Hundreds of carefully organized documents filled waterproof containers, maps, handwritten journals, photographs, newspaper clippings, and dozens of cassette tapes labeled only with dates stretching back nearly 20 years. Everything appeared meticulously preserved. Daniel expected personal memories. Instead, every document focused on missing people. Each folder contained newspaper articles about disappearances from different states across America. The names were unfamiliar. The dates ranged from the late 1970s through the early 1990s. Many pages included handwritten notes in red ink, distances, vehicle descriptions, campground names, license plate numbers, coordinates. Someone had been collecting information for decades. But why? One photograph caught Daniel's attention. It showed the exact same RV parked beside a remote forest lake. Standing beside it was an older man smiling toward the camera. Behind him, almost hidden among the trees, stood another figure, watching. No face, only a silhouette. Daniel contacted local authorities the next morning. Investigators carefully examined every item inside the compartment. At first, they believed the collection belonged to an amateur researcher, fascinated by unsolved mysteries. But then they found the journals. The entries weren't written like newspaper summaries. They read like field notes. I arrived before sunrise. They never noticed the blue camper. She spoke to a man wearing a green jacket. They left together at 4:17. Every sentence suggested the writer had personally observed many of the people before they disappeared. That changed everything. The investigation expanded quickly. Detectives tracked the ownership history of the RV. It had changed hands 6 times. But one owner stood out. A retired surveyor who spent nearly every summer traveling through national parks across the western United States. Neighbors remembered him as quiet, friendly, always traveling alone. No criminal record. No obvious warning signs. Yet no one really knew where he went during those long trips. Forensic teams examined every inch of the motorhome. Hidden beneath the flooring, they discovered another surprise. An older layer of carpet concealed several deep scratches in the original plywood. The marks weren't random. They appeared to have been made by heavy metal equipment repeatedly dragged across the floor. Near the rear axle, investigators also found traces of soil unlike anything found around the farmhouse where the RV had been stored. Laboratory analysis suggested the dirt came from several different regions hundreds of miles apart. The vehicle had clearly traveled extensively. The cassette tapes proved even stranger. Most contained hours of recorded driving, wind, rain, conversations at fuel stations, campground noises, birdsong, nothing unusual, until tape number 23. A man's voice quietly whispered the date before saying, "I think someone followed me today." Several minutes passed in silence. Then another voice appeared. Not close, not clear, just enough to hear a single sentence. "You weren't supposed to see this." The recording ended immediately afterward. No explanation, no names, no answers. Months passed. Experts reviewed every photograph. One image revealed a license plate reflected in the RV's side mirror. Investigators traced it to another traveler reported missing decades earlier. Another photograph showed a mountain trail later connected to an unsolved disappearance. Piece by piece, the collection helped reopen several cold cases. Families who had spent decades without answers finally received new leads. Although no direct evidence ever proved the RV owner committed any crime, investigators believed he possessed knowledge never shared during his lifetime. Some believed he had secretly documented dangerous individuals he encountered while traveling. Others wondered whether he had been investigating disappearances on his own. A darker theory suggested he had simply been far closer to these mysteries than anyone ever realized. The truth remains unknown. Perhaps the most chilling discovery came nearly a year later. During restoration, Daniel replaced the RV's dashboard. Hidden behind the original instrument panel was a folded piece of paper. Unlike everything else, it contained only one handwritten sentence. "If someone finds this, don't stop looking." No signature, no date, just those 6 haunting words. The investigation officially remains open. Several families continue searching for answers connected to the documents found inside that forgotten motorhome. Experts still debate whether the hidden compartment represented the work of a determined investigator, an obsessed collector, or someone carrying dangerous secrets across thousands of lonely highway miles. The old RV has long since been placed into secure storage, its restoration permanently abandoned. What was once considered a forgotten vehicle became one of the most unusual discoveries investigators had ever encountered. Every hidden panel, every faded photograph, and every handwritten note serves as a reminder that ordinary objects can carry extraordinary mysteries. Some secrets aren't buried beneath ancient ruins or hidden inside abandoned castles. Sometimes they're concealed behind the walls of an aging RV, waiting quietly for decades until the right person decides to ask one simple question: what doesn't belong here? And perhaps that's the most unsettling part of all. Because somewhere tonight, parked beside a quiet highway or resting in an isolated campground, there may be another forgotten RV with another hidden compartment, still waiting to be found. If you enjoyed this true mystery story, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss another journey into the unexplained. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, some roads don't just lead to destinations. They lead to secrets that were never meant to be uncovered.